Our economy will never be the same thanks to artificial intelligence and quantum computing, creating one of the biggest investment opportunities of our lifetime that most people are overlooking. I'll show you. In 2022, ChatGPT was launched, and it was the first real exposure to artificial intelligence for the average person, which changed the internet. This cost about $540 million to build, according to OpenAI. 1 year later, almost exactly to the date, Google announced Gemini, a new AI which was a competitor to ChatGPT, but it could also process audio and images and video, and this cost about $191 million to build, according to Google. And then in 2025 came DeepSeek, the Chinese competitor to ChatGPT, which was supposed to be faster, smarter, and a whole lot better than ChatGPT, and this cost about $6 million to build, according to DeepSeek, but a lot of people say that that's not an accurate figure. That means in a little over 2 years, AI became smarter, it became faster, it became more powerful, it became more affordable, but now it's about to get even more wild thanks to quantum computing. Quantum computing is the next generation of technology, and it has the potential to be millions of times more powerful than our computers today. The only problem with this is that quantum computing and quantum AI is not feasible yet. We are decades away from actually being able to use quantum computing for artificial intelligence, or at least that's what we thought. Until now. In December of 2024, Google launched Willow, which is a quantum chip that is 10 septillion times faster than our fastest supercomputer today. That's 10 with 24 zeros after it. That means a complex problem that would take a regular supercomputer hundreds of years to solve, Willow could do in just a few minutes. Then just a couple months later, in the beginning of February 2025, Microsoft announced their own quantum chip called Majorana 1, which is a competitor to Willow and is supposedly even faster and stronger than Google's Willow chip. And then just a few weeks later, Amazon on the last couple of days of February announced Ocelot, which is their version of a quantum computer chip, which is now a competitor to Microsoft's chip and a competitor to Google's chip. This tells us that not only is technology getting smarter and faster, but it's accelerating at how fast it develops. This was years in development to see how AI has come between 2022 to now, and now look at how fast that quantum computing chips are developing just in 2025. And this is why scientists are now saying that quantum is no longer going to be decades away, but we're just years away from seeing the actual practical use of quantum. Yes, that could revolutionize our technology, obviously, but that can also drastically change our economy and investment opportunities. Now, for full transparency, I wasn't planning on making this video because I'm not a tech expert, but I recently made a video about quantum computing and the blockchain, and I received so many messages asking how can quantum become a potential investment opportunity, which is why in this video, I wanna go over a few things. Number one, I wanna go over how is technology evolving? Number two, how will this impact our economy? Number three, how is this gonna impact investment opportunities, and where is the investment opportunity? You definitely want to listen to this. And number four, what are the risks associated with this, especially as an investor? You also definitely want to listen to this as well. Now, this is also one of the reasons why I am hosting a free workshop on March 11th, because technology is changing so fast. We have so many changes happening in our economy, from tariffs to Doge. And so I'm going over how all these changes create new and unique investment opportunities in 2025. It's a free workshop on March 11th where I'm hosting it twice, once in the morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and again in the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be going over what are the changes and how you can invest in these changes to build wealth. It's completely free. If you want to join me on this workshop, I have the link for you to join down in the description below. Just make sure you register soon because we have a limited number of people that can actually join live, and seats are filling up pretty fast. When it comes to the technology, artificial intelligence today uses regular computer chips to power all of its processes. And as AI gets smarter, it needs faster and smarter and stronger computers. These computers that are powering AI use something that are called bits. And the more bits that you have, the more powerful the processing power is. For example, a 64-bit computer chip has more power than a 32-bit, and a 128-bit computer chip has more power than a 64-bit. But the real limiting factor with the computer chips that we have right now is that these bits can only process process one problem at a time. So whether you have a 128-bit computer, a 64-bit computer, or a 32-bit computer, it can only process one problem at a time. Quantum, on the other hand, uses qubits as opposed to bits. And the real difference between a qubit and a bit is that qubits have the ability to process multiple problems at one time, while bits can only process one problem at a time. So here's what that means. A 32-bit computer can process 1 to the 32nd problems at one time, which is ultimately 1. So a 32-bit computer can process one math problem at a time, versus a 32-qubit computer can process 2 to the 32nd power problems at one time, which means this can process about 4 billion problems at one time, while this can only process 1. You can start to see the difference. And then as you stack on more qubits, this gets exponentially more powerful than a traditional computer. For example, a 128-bit computer can process 1 to the 128th power problems at one time, which is 1. But a 128-qubit computer can process 2 to the 128th power, which is, 340 plus 36 zeros after it problems at one time. I don't know the name for this number, but you can see how this starts to become extremely, infinitely more powerful than the computer processes that we have now, because when you stack on more qubits, it can do infinitely more problems at one time, which allows it to do more complex stuff and more powerful computing that our computers would take a very long time to do, which means processes can get much more fast, learning can get much more fast, and things can get really wild very fast. The AI that we have today is still running on these bits, but we're getting closer and closer to quantum AI, which would be running on these qubits. Again, we're not there yet, and we don't know when we'll be there, but when that time comes, you have to imagine that it's going to be very interesting. More specifically, it's going to be interesting for the economy. This is what I can understand a little bit better because I am not a tech person. If you've been keeping up with the economy or have been reading Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, you've probably heard of layoffs happening because of artificial intelligence, where companies are reducing some of their staff and replacing them with some sort of machine learning or some sort of artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there about artificial intelligence that is going to replace the need for humans altogether, which I don't really believe. There is still a need for people for a lot of positions, but people need to understand how to use artificial intelligence. And I do very much believe that if you don't understand AI and if you don't get ahead of AI, you are going to be left behind. Because if you don't understand how to use AI to make your work better, to make your work more efficient, you are going to become a less productive person in our economy, and you're going to have a much harder time getting a job or running a company. And here's the reality. Not only is technology evolving, but the rate at which technology is evolving is getting faster and faster. The rate at which we saw technology evolve between 2020 to now is going to seem like a caveman's pace between what we see between 2025 and 2030. Technology is going to get faster, it's going to have a lot more implications, and if you don't get ahead of it, you're going to fall behind, and a lot of people are going to complain, a lot of people are going to cry, a lot of people are going to say, oh, my job is being automated, I can't find a job because of this, and I want you to be ahead of this because technology is going to change our economy, it is going to change our workplace, so start learning today. And you don't have to go out and spend tons of money to do this, just go out and start testing things, go watch YouTube videos, just try it yourself because a lot of this stuff is free. And if you do want to stay up to date on how technology is affecting our economy, you can join my free newsletter Market Briefs. We publish it 6 times a week, and we have hundreds of thousands of investors that read it every single day. And I have that link for you down in the description below as well. This brings me now to how does all this create a potential investment opportunity? And I have to remind you, I am not a financial advisor, okay? I'm just a random guy on YouTube. Investing has risks. You are never guaranteed to make money when you invest. In fact, you will lose money at some point. So make sure you always do your own due diligence and never blindly trust a random guy on YouTube. Here's the thing, as an investor, you want to invest your money where the money is moving. I call this a market shift because you want to know where the economy is going to, that way you can own a piece of this growing economy as opposed to owning a piece of the economy that's shrinking. You want to see your investment value go up, and if that is going to happen, you want to know where the money is moving to. And this is where number one, you have to identify a market shift, and then you have to identify a good opportunity within there, meaning a good company, a good actual investment to come in and buy. I'm not going to tell you what to buy. That's not the game that I play, because your goals are different than mine, your risk tolerance is different than mine, and your strategy is going to be different than mine. But I want you to understand the strategy that we can start thinking like an investor and find a good opportunity for you or not. I mean, I just want you to understand what's happening. That way you can make smarter decisions for yourself, because the reality is a lot of things are changing. And a few plays that investors are looking at, especially when it comes to the changing technology, have to do with potentially investing directly into quantum or companies creating quantum. Number two, investing in energy that is powering this technology, or investing in the data centers that are helping to support this technology. Let me show you what I mean. Starting with number one, if you believe that quantum computers are really going to change our economy, and if you believe that quantum computers are going to be something that shake up our economy, that they're actually going to happen because some people believe that they're not going to happen, well, you could invest in the companies that are creating these quantum chips. Now you might say, well, Jaspreet, how do I find those companies? Well, you can use technology. That's what I did. And here's an article that I found on US News titled The 7 Best Quantum Stocks. Now again, I'm not recommending any of these companies. This is just what the article says. It talks about Alphabet and Microsoft and FormFactor and IonQ and IBM and Nvidia and Rigetti Computing. Again, this does not mean go out and blindly throw your money into one of these companies, but it means understand, do you believe that this shift is happening? Do you believe that this is going to create a better investment opportunity in the future? And then find the right company for you. Find a company that you believe is innovating, that's using their cash well, that has a good CEO, that has a good mission, that has a good moat. Then you start analyzing, is that risk worth it or not for you? If you don't want to invest in an individual company, you can also consider investing in ETFs, because yes, there are ETFs out there that also give you exposure to this quantum computing space. A second investment opportunity here could be to consider investing your money into the energy companies that are powering this technology and artificial intelligence. Because artificial intelligence needs a lot of power, it needs a lot of energy. And the smarter and more powerful this AI gets, the more energy that it needs. And there are specific companies that are powering these artificial intelligence companies. Again, I'm not here telling you what to do, and I'm not trying to recommend any companies, but if that's something that you're interested in, you can go onto Google and take a look at the top 20 energy companies that are supplying energy to artificial intelligence. And if that's something that you believe in, well, now you can start doing some digging and see if you find a company that fits your financial goals and your financial criteria. For example, this article talks about Siemens Energy, GE, Shell, BP, ExxonMobil, Tesla. And then of course, artificial intelligence needs a physical place. It needs a place to store and process and compute all the data that it's processing every single second, and this is housed in a data center. And as artificial intelligence uses more stuff, it uses more data, it will probably need more data centers or more efficient data centers. This is one of the reasons why we've heard companies like Meta talk about how they're investing hundreds of billions of dollars building out these data centers, but also sometimes companies overbuild or they overpromise. For example, Microsoft has talked about how they're canceling some of their AI data center projects. But I'm going to talk more about that in the risk section, so hold your thought. So if you're the type of person that says, I want to invest in the real estate, I want to invest in the data centers, well, there are companies out there that specialize in that you could potentially invest in. And yes, there are also ETFs out there that can give you exposure to these types of data centers. Again, I'm going to say this one more time. I'm not telling you what to invest in. I'm not telling you what you need to buy. I'm trying to get you to understand how to think like an investor. A successful investor starts by identifying what they believe is a market shift, where the money is going to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Then once they identify a shift, they start to dig a little bit deeper. What are the individual investment opportunities within this shift? What are the companies that could win in this shift? And then they start analyzing those companies. This is where you do the financials. You find a company that you believe is undervalued. You start to look at the cash flow. You start to look at the income statement. You start to look at the balance sheet. You look at the CEO. You look at how the company's run. You look at their innovation. And when you find a good company that you believe in and you're willing to take that risk, well, that's something that you can consider investing in. Now that you understand how the technology is changing, how this can impact the economy, and how this can create potential investment opportunities, I do want to highlight the risks, because there's one risk that artificial intelligence could be one big huge bubble that's about to burst. For those of you that are old enough to remember the 2000 dot-com bubble, well, the internet was this new technology in the 90s, and then all these companies grew into these huge valuations and everybody was getting rich, and then came 2000 and the bubble burst. And dot-com companies started crashing and so many went bankrupt and so many investors lost money. The internet did not go away, but a lot of bad internet companies that were getting these crazy valuations went to nothing. Lots of investors lost money, but the investors that found that as an opportunity to come in and buy at a huge discount because they believed in the future of the internet, well, they were able to make huge sums of money because companies like Amazon saw their stock fell by more than 90% during that recession. Is it easy? No. But if you believe in the future technology, understand that, hey, this could be a bubble, it could burst, but if you believe in the future of it, that could be an opportunity for you to buy again. But you gotta imagine that that's not easy, because even after the year 2000, a lot of people said, oh, the whole internet thing was a fad. I knew that the internet was not gonna work. And then of course we see where the internet is today. Risk number 2 is that technologies are evolving so fast that a company that you think is a great investment today could rise and then fall just as fast. For example, when DeepSeek came out, we saw that Nvidia stock fell by 16% in just one day, which is not a very common thing that you see with a multi-trillion-dollar company. And the reason why is people were worried that a new technology was going to come out and essentially make Nvidia obsolete, which is crazy to think of, that one new innovation could bankrupt a multi-trillion-dollar company. And the reason why investors are getting so concerned and volatile about this is because technology is evolving fast. And if companies are not ahead of the curve, they're going to be behind the curve and they're going to die. And so if you are investing in individual companies, you have to understand that level of risk and monitor investments even more closely. And then of course, risk number 3 is you could just be wrong. I mean, maybe this shift doesn't work. Maybe quantum computing doesn't happen. Maybe AI doesn't stay very popular. I mean, there's a chance that things don't work out, which means that, well, you invest your money into this thing and you could lose. And this is where you got to understand the game of risk versus reward. I mean, the alternative is, instead of investing into something that you believe is a shift, you can just invest in like the S&P 500. And this is where now you're just investing in the top 500 companies in the stock market. Less risk, less potential return. And you just have to understand the game that you want to play. Do you just want to play that slow and steady game of investing in the American economy, or do you want to be a little bit more active and look for a shift and find the right opportunity for you? See, this is what investor education is all about. This is what I'll be going over on my workshop on March 11th. If you want to join me, again, I have the link for you down in the description, but you have to know the strategy that you want to play. I'm not here to tell you what to invest in. I'm just a random guy on YouTube. My goal is to help you think like an investor. That way you can use this new knowledge to come up with a better investment strategy for you. Crypto investors are starting to get a little bit nervous because of rumors that quantum computing could potentially be the end of Bitcoin. Quantum computing is the next generation of technology. You can think of quantum computing kind of like a supercomputer on steroids to the 1000th power. Well, Bitcoin is built on the blockchain.